Tidy ho, everybody. It's me, Funk, but you may know me from my internet alias Funk. So State of the Specialist is my last video, my previous video. I'm working on other stuff now, but before I completely, forget about this thing's existence, I thought I would kind of go over a lot of the editing tricks that I learned and used through this because this is one of my more ambitious editing things. It's by no means my coup de grace or any shit like that. It was very experimental, but, I just thought I would run through this because I thought there was a lot of neat things that, the two people here that give a shit about editing might, be interested in. First thing you might notice is that the name of this document is Big Revision Safety Backup 2. That was because, like, 3/4 into working on the project, I think I like shut off my computer without saving or something, and it like fucked up the file that it was in, and it got like corrupted, and I only had like 2 saves of this thing, and it was pretty old. So I freaked out, but then it turns out Vegas actually had like a backup file that was completely up to date. So after that shit went down, I decided I would just start making backup files. So occasionally I started saving extra ones. So yeah, if you're working on bigger stuff like this, definitely back up, because it's always when you don't think you need to that you most need to. Starting chronologically, one of like the first things in the video is this right here, which was a pretty basic effect. I literally just drew each individual frame and just made it as long as I thought would be fitting. If you want to make this look better, you could have honestly just drawn more frames, but I don't have a tablet or anything, and I don't have like flash animation, so I kind of just bullshitted this by making like 5 individual frames of each scene in like Sony, like in Photoshop, and I'll show you right now. Like, to make each of these, I would just open up a 1920 by 1080, make the background black, or I'd put the chalkboard in, and then I would just manually draw like the and obviously I'd use like a custom brush and stuff. I don't know exactly which one I use. I think it was like one of these. So like I would just draw the the noteboard. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but I draw this, draw the basic shit, and then I make a new frame and I would trace that. And I would just do this like 5 or 6 times per frame. And I use this a couple times in the video. Obviously, this is like really fucking sloppy. And if you have a drawing tablet, I highly recommend you use that. But, if you're just some chump that's barely getting by, that works too. And somewhere in the video, I believe I used this similar, yeah, right here. Yeah, and it looks a bit better here because I made a couple more frames. But yeah, just do that shit. Another one of the new techniques I learned that up until now I never really used is this really awesome editing style where you kind of deconstruct a picture into multiple layers and then animate each one. So like right here, just like a TF2 artwork, they have a ton of these like existing resources of just like cool looking pictures. And what I did was I just found ones that I thought would be pretty fitting. So take for example this one, like right here. Uh, Obviously, like the photo they put online is only one layer, and when you're making a video, all you can really do with that is just cropping, just like looking around, like, look, it's cropped to this guy, now it's cropped to this guy. It's pretty boring. So what I did here was I basically edited each different part of it onto its own separate layer. And this is a lot harder than it sounds. So the the farthest back layer is this really dusty and dirty looking shit right here. Like, you can tell that I sloppily edited it. I'm not the best at Photoshop, but I did what I could. And, when you're covering it up with other layers, it's not as big of a deal. Like, you see right here, behind this doesn't really matter because I'm going to have the head behind it. And I'm not really going to be showing down here or anything. So that's not a big deal. Cutting out these heads was probably the easiest part because, they're pretty on the forefront, not much obstructing them. They're not too blurry or anything. Then you have this guy right here, which, again, it wasn't too hard because on the actual photo, he's not really obstructed. All I did was just, I would like manually get rid of this. I'd make the eraser really hard. And obviously I'd get like up close and I'd make it a much closer cut. You can use quick selection. You can use like the polygon lasso, which I hear is a pretty popular one for cutting people out of stuff. You can use whatever you want, to be honest, as long as you get that background removed. That's all you really need. And now this is really time consuming. One of the most time consuming parts of the video. Like, to get one guy out, you'd have to meticulously go through all of this. And if you make one mistake, you have to, like, go fix it or do it over or do whatever you need to. It's pretty annoying. Like, look, that was me, like, barely half-assing it. And even then, it's kind of, like, weird looking. Basically, yeah. But it comes off looking really nice in it. Each individual frame can be really ugly. Like, you'll notice here. It's a lot cleaner, like right there, than it is right here. Like, this goes a little further and stuff. Just, it's cleaner, because obviously they didn't Photoshop it. But when you're editing a video, and, you have a bunch of these levels to it, and it's not really that long of a scene, it's not a big deal. Obviously, like, no one's gonna overthink this and be like, oh, wow, this is really shitty edit. Some people will, but, it's already a pretty dusty image. I used something similar here. I did use a couple different effects on this one, though. So this one, like the other one, is... this one's actually 4 layers. So this one is the arms, right here. The Heavy himself, who, you'll notice I actually drew the bottom of his feet, because in the actual poster, which I think is right here, you can't really see it. And the way I edited, he was going to be coming from the top, but I couldn't really show him that well. Basically, I just edited his feet to be really long. That way it would look a little better when he came up from the ground. So yeah. What I did with these arms was I animated them going up and down. So like if you look right here, you'll see them down and up and down and up. And it's sort of simulating that like crowd thing. And that's giving some, it's a very basic animation. Like I said, I was testing a lot of this, and this is on draft, so it doesn't look as good as it actually would. But, it's just giving some life to the animation of it. The Heavy himself, nothing special, just cut him out, drew the things. One of the different things that I did here was I have this lightning in the background, and it's very hard to see. Not hard to see, that's not the right word. It's very... in the background. there's a right word for this. It's subtle. It's subtle. It's not like a major thing that you notice. It's just it's a nice attention to detail. One of the things you'll notice here is that the actual lightning here looks a lot different from the lightning I have in the animation, which is and I'll let you in on a secret. I didn't really know how to take off this without it looking really shitty. Obviously, I could, feather tool a cut of it like this, and it would kind of do the same effect. Feather that by like 10 or some shit. Not 10, like 100. I don't know. There would have been ways to get rid of it, but it's beyond my reasoning. So what I did was I just made the background really basic. And, yeah, I have a couple lightning stripes there. But, I just made the background pretty basic, and then I got, like, I literally just... And I think it was this one, to be honest. It was, like, just one of these. I just saved it, and then I opened it up in Photoshop. And then I just edited the color and stuff to be whatever I needed it to be, which is sort of like a reddish color with a lot of saturation, like that. And then I just edited all of these onto a 120 or 1920 by 1080 into be the right positions. And here. And then I just animated them moving. Now there was an easier way for me to animate this that I didn't realize until after I made the video, which I'll go over like later on. which is subsequencing. And subsequencing, holy shit, is like the greatest thing in the world, by the way. But yeah, like let me finish this up first. So lightning its own thing. I just had those zooming in, so it kind of gave the effect that it was like sparking off of him. Nothing crazy, obviously. If I was a better editor, or animate, like I don't animate. I do dog shit editing like this. If I was an animator, or if I knew an animator, I would pay them and just have like actual animated lightning strikes or something. Just like visual effects. I don't know how to do that, and just one guy doing what he can. So this is just what I threw together. So the background for these areas is just it's actually a pretty simple edit. So the back, I don't think I have the file for this anymore. So what I did was I edited the snow out of the Pinkerton art, and I multiplied it like 10 times on a vertical axis, and then I just animated it falling down, and below that was the actual Pinkerton art itself. I kind of lowered the brightness and messed with the settings a bit so it would look a little nicer for like a full screen, and then I made that video file, and that's just like an MP4. And then above that, I can animate it like zooming in, or I could just leave it where it is. Without animation, it just looks like this. So like the background is static and the snow itself is falling. And I like to use this as just sort of a background for anything else. There's a lot of media missing because I deleted a lot of the files for this now that I've rendered it. But that's the background. This VHS effect right here, way fucking simpler than you would think it is. No. So that VHS effect, I literally just went to YouTube and I googled like VHS effects. And obviously, if somebody doesn't want you using these effects, they shouldn't have put it onto YouTube. Anyways, I just found, like, I'm pretty sure this is the one. I just took it, I downloaded it, and maybe it wasn't that one exactly, but when I had it, like, when I had the beginning of it, I had it slightly transparent before slowly just changing into full, just like full opaque, and then the opposite when it left. And that's pretty basic. Obviously, it's such a short effect that it's not a big deal if you if you just like take one that someone's made. If you were really unique, you could just animate it yourself. I don't really know how to make VHS effects. I just thought it made a sort of a cool transition because like I experimented a lot with transitions in this. Like here with the spinning globe, I just got like a globe green, or not, just, yeah, I just got like a globe green screen video, or like I just got like a spinning globe video, and then I animated the text flying over, which is a pretty basic edit. I don't think I need to go over that one. So right here, another just interesting thing about backgrounds, the way I like to do these backgrounds is I have HitFilm, which is just like a Vegas Pro plugins, and you can find that however you want. Uh, it's just like a cool effect. Like it just adds sort of a stylization to videos. Like if I had just done this right here, it would have been pretty basic of an. I mean, it looks good. It doesn't look bad by any means, but I just thought like, hey, I want to have some consistency to the editing. So whenever I just have a really basic background, I like to have sort of a TV film, like TV damage effect over it. There are other things here like horizontal hold, which makes it like move up and down like that, and that's kind of cool. Uh, Vertical hold, which I think makes it go like sideways, or no, yeah, this like fucks with the actual screen itself. There's a lot of cool settings that you can mess with this. But when I made this video, I just used basic. All I had was like radio interference, I think, which is this. You can change the angle of it. You can change the intensity of it. You can change, how big it is, how small it is. Obviously, you want to kind of have a good in between. Not too intense, but not too not intense. The horizontal hold's kind of cool. But yeah, you can edit that. You can mess with that on your own. That's just how I like to do it. I use that a couple places. I use it again here. I use it here, but slightly different. Uh, and I use it for my outros too, actually. That people wonder like what that effect is. That's just like the TV damage thing. The background is just stock footage I found with some video like editing above it. A lot of the animated portions are just shit I made in Source Filmmaker, and it's so goddamn easy once you learn Source Filmmaker to make shit like this, because you can literally just hit F11 when you're. I'm not gonna open it because this is a whole other thing. This isn't really video editing, but when you're in Source Filmmaker, you can just hit F11 and you can record yourself in game, and it's the same thing as like recording yourself in TF2 with replays, but you have a lot more freedom with it, and also replays are broken, so you know you can't really use those. So yeah, I just like scene built the backgrounds, or I like used existing maps and stuff. And you know, in game I would hit F11, hit record, and then I would just jump around doing all this goofy, wacky shit for however long was needed. I use it here. I use it. I use it a couple times through the video. I know, like yeah, like right here. I just hit F11, record myself on a green screened map. If you see me get rid of this right here, this chroma key, you'll see like it's really just me on a green screen. And if I get rid of the background, that's all it is, just me on a green screen walking around like an idiot. And once you like get rid of that, just add on a background, animate it a little bit, and it looks all fancy like. The coloring is kind of weird because of the way green screen works. There's no proper way, like uh it's weird because there's a lot of transparent colors in TF2 with the particle effects. It can be kind of hard to make that perfect like green screen effect for like shit like detonations and the like the red or like the red colored transparent things, because they'll be tinted by the green background. You kind of have it to just experiment with that. I just sort of desaturated a bit so it wasn't that obvious. I'm sure there's easier ways to do it. So right here, to make this animated effect, which I really like, I just used a wave. It's a very basic effect. Like if you go here and you go to wave, it takes some fidgeting to get like perfect settings. But here it's just all I do is change the horizontal phase. Like you'll notice if I just move this, it changes. I just had that like constantly phasing as I moved it. So for this effect right here, I just went to like so I'll make an example. So TF2 Uber update. I went to this, not that. I went to the actual web page itself, and then wait, did I? No, that's day 4. Yeah. So like I just like went to the page, and then I hit print screen, and then I opened that up in Photoshop. You know, because apparently I closed out of Photoshop for some reason. So yeah, I just opened it up on Photoshop. I cropped it. I kind of like the editing I did before in Photoshop. I just got rid of the backgrounds. Obviously, you have to do a closer job than I'm doing here. This is a really basic way to do it. I just got rid of the backgrounds. And for these sections, it was a lot harder. What I did was I just lasso tooled like all of this. Because if you use like the magic tools, it doesn't get everything. Like, look, it gets all of this wonky shit in the background. It never really comes out perfect. So, you can do it however you want to, as long as it gets the job done. Personally, you know, I prefer to just lasso tool stuff, because that's pretty easy for me. But, once you get all that background taken off, yeah, blah, 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 and you take all that, and you take that, and you take that, and you take that. And I think, yeah, we're good. That's perfect. Get rid of that top area, and then what I like to do is just add a little drop shadow to that. Very light. And take that off, and then, you know, save this as a PNG. You can add it into Vegas Pro. I should actually leave Photoshop open in case I use it later. I just did that for every single web page. And it was fully animated. Also, here I did a highlighting effect. This was pretty simple. All I did was just make two different versions of the same picture, one with a highlight, one without, and then I animated a mask on it, where, like right here, it's left to right, just animated the highlight going over it. Pretty simple edits. Shit like this, I just stole like I just stole like a someone else's effect of sort of like a time warp thing, and then I just animated the text following it through the whole. And that's most of the stuff. Right here, the media is offline, but you might remember I had sort of a I had pictures of the update pages, or not pictures. I had like websites of the update pages scrolling by with a blur at the top. I just added a mask and then added a feather to the mask. Like here, let me make an example. Just to make things easier, I'll just find a random photo that I happen to have saved. So right here's a good example. Uh, so to sort of recreate sort of the effect that I had, what I did was I created a mask right about here. Then I feathered that by both. I think it was like 20. Oh, I should have done it 10. 10 looks pretty good. Yeah, I did like 20, just right about here. And the mask was not edited. The mask just stayed how it was. But what I did was I could animate the actual photo to go down. That's not no. I didn't animate the photo. I'm stupid. What I did was I had video of me scrolling through the website. So like I just went to a like just any website, for example, just like YouTube, and I just did this. I just scrolled through, had that on video, then I masked that, and then for the effect, it would stay there. Now you can. There are ways to like animate it to go through. For that, this you would have to like do this, which is kind of weird. But yeah, there are definitely ways to get whatever you need done. Like if I slowed this down. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's how I did that effect. And right now I'm just sort of skimming through everything. This was all source filmmaker. You know, like I said, hit F11 and you'll be able to just edit as you, or you'll just be able to record as you please. A couple of these I did some actual manual animating. The first bit of the death scene what is already in the tier 2 files. You can just steal that, but it doesn't actually have an end to the animation. Like the animation stops right about here. So I just animated the rest of him falling. It's such an insignificant behind the scenes thing that you, but making those little details makes, you know, it shows. So for the actual effects on it, I just have a bunch. Ignore all of these. These are all failed film effects. I don't like know how to delete these. I'm still like pretty shitty at Vegas Pro. I don't know how to delete those. I just took them off. I have some video effects which add sort of that like tint and color because this song is a pretty old song, and I thought it'd be fitting to sort of edit the video as if it were that. I had a bleach bypass to make the darker tones a lot darker. I had 50% saturation taken down because, you know, it's kind of an old video. I thought that would kind of give me the vibe that it's a pretty old video. Like right there. And that's pretty much all that effect. I also masked out the sides of it to be 4:3. Or what did I do? Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I like not masked it. I just did this. I just had a preset to 4:3 TV aspect ratio, which you can find in Vegas Pro if you're really that interested. This is the same thing as that video editing before. I just made multiple frames and animated them. Source Filmmaker. This thing is just I took a photo of the TF2 classes. I put a bleach bypass on them and a TV simulator. Just some interlacing and a little bit of scan phasing and a teeny bit of line sync, which is an effect I really like. But I try not to overdo it. I usually keep it at like 0.995 or whatever, because it can get a little annoying kind of quickly if you overuse it. So that's that effect. I'm just kind of going through it chronologically now. You'll start to notice after a certain point that I do a lot of the same uh, editing sort of types. You know, I use a source filmmaker section, and then I'll use the background with some editing over it, and then I'll have one of these sections. Now, this one was a bitch. I had to animate each dove individually. Sorry, I'm talking to Voltroid right now. So this part was pretty annoying. Not annoying as in hard to do, but tedious because it really fills up the video file. Which again, this is before I knew about subsequencing, which I will show you right now. So I had to animate each bird individually, which was not too hard. The photo itself is all 6 doves, but what I did was I just masked out each one, and then I could animate each frame individually. And the background is just like a basic background that I edited out of the original picture. Same with the medic. So if you want to do subsequencing, so like just take this video right now. It's a very basic, all very subtle effects. What you can do is you can take all of these, copy, just make a new, just have a completely new file, and edit them all in. And then put it at the beginning. And now it is a completely separate thing. And what you can do is just save, not render, just save it as dove sequence. And I have a little sequence folder that I like to keep things in. So you can go there, then you can open that said sequence folder. So then you have that said sequence folder right here. And what you can do is you can get rid of all this shit. You don't need it anymore, because you have it in a new file. Then you just drag that shit in. Boom. A single frame of the entire animation. I think it still takes the same loading power and stuff. I don't know. But it makes it way easier to know, to not like have 10,000 layers. Like this could be 3 layers if I just had known about subsequencing when I made the video. It could have just been like 3 layers. These 3, maybe 4 tops. But instead I have all of these because I didn't realize subsequencing. Which is also really annoying when you're shifting shit around. So anyways, you can also animate it more. So like, you know, and I already did it without even realizing, which is how habitual this shit is to me. But you can animate it freely now. Like, it'll do the normal animation, and you can just like zoom in if you want. You can zoom out if you want, and it'll do the normal whatever you edited, but now it's also animated with that second layer, which is pretty cool. So that's subsequencing. Dude, abuse the fuck out of that, because I guarantee I'm going to be using that a lot in the future. So further on, that's pretty much all of the hardcore editing stuff. I've shown just about all of the hard edits that I've done. The only other stuff is like right here. If I show you the full version, you'll notice there's a very slight feather effect on the edge of that, which I thought was nice. If I get rid of it, it looks just like that, which can kind of seem a little clunky. I did a pretty basic, I just did an in feather, and the difference between in and out feathers is this, so it's pretty obvious. So in just means it feathers inwards, out means it feathers outwards, which can be which is only really useful for masked stuff like this. So like outside of the square, it'll feather out 5. Or inside of the square, it'll feather out 5. Or if you do both, it'll compromise. What I did was I just did in, and I did like a really slight one of like 1 or 0.5 or 2. Just something that helps it blend in. Yeah, I think it was like 1.5. And now it kind of blends into the background a bit better. And I also had it just pan out because, again, you know, it's like a big 20-second sequence of the video. I can't talk over it. I can't make any goofs or laughs or anything. So, you know, just make it pretty. I also had a TV effect on it. A very, very slight TV effect of this right here. I just made it like... I like that. It adds just like I said, it adds a bit of a style to all of my videos. So that's what I like to do. Right here, you know, just blackout 2 a.m. Font I really like recently, with different colors and a drop shadow, which is just, you know, right here. If you click that button, you'll get this. You can add the shadow, just get rid of the blur. Yeah. And that's about everything. Everything else is just things being animated, moving, and changing. Right here, like, it's just two different pictures, but in the same place but like put around the same area so they look sort of like it's an animation, but it's not. It's just two pictures that I found. I could, if I wanted to, I could have just Source Filmmaker postered them, but when you're lazy like me, that's way too much work. Right here, to animate the text, all I did was just add a bunch of make the full text and then just make a mask of so maybe, so maybe one day, and that's it. Right here, the shaking gloves, it's just manually making a bunch of keyframes. Just keyframe, I just, like, here, I'll do it from scratch. Not all of it, but, like, I'm sure there's an easier way. What I do is just move it slightly, dot, move it slightly, right arrow, 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 move it slightly. And what a lot of people do is they'll just copy this and, like, paste it like 5 times, and that's fine, but you can notice that after a while. Yeah, like, it's not organic. It's a very obvious sort of a cop-out edit. So if you really want it to look good, just manually make one for every frame. It can seem really tedious and boring, but if you have the time to video edit, why not make it as good as you can, you know? If you're on a schedule, or you're time constrained, or maybe you only do it casually, you know, yeah, you're focused on school and work and this is a free time thing, then fine, you know, manually do it. Or, like, repeat, that's fine. But if you're doing, like, bigger projects like I am, I would recommend just manually editing it. Right here, it's just a smiley face that I stole off Google. I could have drawn it, but I wanted to kind of have that stock image feel. Like, I obviously didn't make it. I went and found a picture. Right here, I just found stock footage of the sky and animated some text going backwards. And that is not the right picture. I guess I have some picture names overlapping. This is for another video. Excuse me. But yeah, the rest is pretty basic shit. I just photoshopped Lucio to look like a TF2 character. A lot of people ask me if, like, this was a serious or a joke. I was just making a joke because Lucio really wouldn't help to break stalemates. He would honestly kind of fuck up the balance a lot by making heavies roll out and stuff. That was just a joke. But I mean, I'm sure there's a tangible concept in there somewhere. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all of the editing in this. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask me. If you want to know how to do something, maybe no, I probably don't. When I need a solution, I just Google how to do this effect. Like, when I wanted to do that, well, I didn't Google how to do this one. I'm sure there's a way to do that, but I saw this effect from Captain Christian, who does video essays, and if you don't watch him, you fucking totally should if you like video editing, because his editing is like 3 times over mine. But yeah, he does a similar effect where he animates multiple axes for his videos, and I just looked at it and I'm like, okay, well, how do you think he does this? He has a frame for this part, he has a frame for this part, he has a frame for this part, and then I just photoshopped from there, and I found my own conclusion. But other stuff, you know, you can just Google, or you can experiment. Deductive reasoning, after you know enough about the program, you can kind of figure stuff out on your own. Yeah, that's about everything. Yeah. So, thanks if you watched this far. Hopefully you got what you wanted, or maybe you just learned something you didn't realize. And if you don't edit with Sony Vegas, lucky you.